The rain came down in sheets that night, turning the city's streets into rivers of neon and shadow. Aaliyah Harper stood shivering outside the locked glass doors of the boutique hotel where she worked, her uniform soaked through, her body trembling from cold and exhaustion. Preston Montgomery, her manager, watched from inside with a smirk. This was punishment for being late, for talking back, for existing in a way that offended his fragile ego. She had been standing there for 20 minutes, knocking, begging to be let back in. He just turned away. What Preston didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that the black Mercedes pulling up to the curb wasn't just another luxury car in an expensive neighborhood. And the man stepping out, his tailored suit already darkening with rain, wasn't just another wealthy businessman. Dominic "Dom" Castellano was the king of the city's underworld. A man whose name made powerful people whisper. A man who controlled everything from the docks to the penthouses. And the woman collapsing on the wet pavement in front of him was his wife. Aaliyah's eyes opened to unfamiliar darkness. Her head felt heavy, her body wrapped in warmth she didn't recognize. Silk sheets. Soft pillows. The faint hum of expensive heating filling the air. This wasn't her apartment. Panic shot through her chest. She sat up fast, too fast. The room spun. Her breath came quick and shallow as she scanned her surroundings. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the city glowing far below. Modern furniture. Art on the walls that probably cost more than her yearly salary. Everything looked expensive and cold and wrong. Where was she? Then she saw him. Dominic Castellano sat in a chair beside the bed, perfectly still, watching her with those dark eyes that had haunted her dreams for 3 years. He wore a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up. No jacket. No tie. His hair was slightly messy, like he had been running his hands through it. He looked tired in a way she had never seen before. "No," Aaliyah whispered. Her voice cracked. "No, this isn't happening." She threw the blankets off and swung her legs over the side of the bed. The room tilted. Her vision blurred. She grabbed the nightstand to keep from falling. "Aaliyah, don't." Dom's voice was quiet, but firm. He didn't move from the chair. "Don't say my name." She was shaking now, and it wasn't from the cold anymore. "Don't sit there like you have the right to. You collapsed outside in the rain," Dom said calmly. "You were unconscious. Your body temperature was dangerously low. I brought you here because you needed help. Then you should have taken me to a hospital." Aaliyah forced herself to stand even though her legs felt like water. "You should have left me alone." "I couldn't do that. You did it 3 years ago." The words came out harder than she meant them to. Sharper. They hung in the air between them like broken glass. Dom's jaw tightened. For a moment, something painful crossed his face. Then it was gone, hidden behind that mask of control he wore so well. "You're not leaving tonight," he said. "It's late. You were hypothermic 2 hours ago. My doctor already checked you. You need rest. I don't need anything from you." "Aaliyah." "Stop." Her hands curled into fists at her sides. "Stop acting like you care. Stop pretending this means something. You made your choice 3 years ago, Dominic. You don't get to change your mind just because you found me passed out in the rain." The door opened quietly. An older man in a suit stepped inside carrying a medical bag. He looked professional and unbothered, like walking into tense situations was normal for him. "Mrs. Castellano," the doctor said with a polite nod. "I'm Dr. Chin. I need to check your vitals one more time before you rest." Aaliyah froze. Mrs. Castellano. She hadn't heard that name in 3 years. It hit her like a punch to the stomach. Dom stood slowly. "I'll give you privacy," he said. Then he walked out and closed the door behind him. But Aaliyah could feel him on the other side, standing guard. Waiting. Like he had been waiting for 3 years. And she hated that part of her had been waiting too. Morning light filled the penthouse when Aaliyah woke for the second time. Her body still ached, but the fog in her head had lifted. She sat up slowly, listening for sounds in the apartment. Silence. Maybe he had left. Maybe she could slip out before he came back and pretend none of this ever happened. She found her clothes folded neatly on a chair. They had been cleaned and dried. Even that simple kindness made her angry. She didn't want his care. She didn't want to owe him anything. Aaliyah got dressed and opened the bedroom door. The smell hit her first. Eggs. Rice. Something savory and warm. Her stomach twisted with hunger she had been ignoring for days. She followed the scent to the kitchen. Dom stood at the stove with his back to her. He wore dark pants and a simple black shirt. No guards. No staff. Just him. Cooking breakfast like this was normal. Like they were normal. He turned when he heard her footsteps. Sit, he said quietly. It wasn't a command. It was an invitation. Aaliyah wanted to refuse. She wanted to walk out the door and never look back. But her legs were tired and her body was weak and the food smelled so good it hurt. She sat. Dom placed a plate in front of her without a word. Scrambled eggs. Toast. Fresh fruit arranged the way she liked it. A cup of tea already cooling to the perfect temperature. He remembered. After 3 years of silence, he still remembered how she took her tea. Why am I here, Dom? She asked. Her voice was steadier now. Because you were dying outside that hotel. He sat across from her but didn't eat. He just watched her with those careful eyes. Because I wasn't going to leave you there. You left me before. I know. So why now? Why do you suddenly care? Dom was quiet for a long moment. His hands rested flat on the table. She noticed his knuckles were scarred. New scars she didn't recognize. Tell me about your manager, he said instead of answering. Aaliyah looked down at her plate. It doesn't matter. It matters to me. It shouldn't. I'm not your responsibility anymore. Aaliyah. Her name in his mouth still sounded like something precious. What did he do to you? The question broke something inside her. Something she had been holding together with anger and pride and sheer stubbornness. Everything, she whispered. He did everything he could to make me feel small. The words started coming and she couldn't stop them. She told him about Preston. About the impossible tasks and the public humiliation. About standing outside in the cold for 40 minutes holding a coffee tray because she had gotten the order wrong. About the way Preston cut her hours but demanded she finish the same amount of work. About the comments. The threats. The slow, deliberate cruelty of a man who enjoyed watching people break. He locked me out last night because I asked for my paycheck, Aaliyah said. Her hands were shaking. He said if I wanted to be paid, I needed to learn respect. Then he shoved me outside and locked the door. Dom's expression didn't change. But something in the air around him went very, very cold. What's his full name? Dom asked. His voice was soft. Dangerously soft. Dom, don't. His name, Aaliyah. Preston Montgomery. Dom stood slowly. He pulled out his phone and typed something quickly. Then he set it down and looked at her with eyes that held no mercy. You're not going back there, he said. You don't get to decide that. That man will never touch you again. Dom's voice didn't rise. It dropped. And somehow that was worse. I promise you that. Aaliyah stared at Dom across the table. The silence stretched between them, heavy with 3 years of questions neither had answered. You can't just walk back into my life and start making promises, she said quietly. I never walked out. Yes, you did. Her voice broke despite her effort to keep it steady. You told me to leave and never come back. Those were your exact words, Dom. I didn't imagine them. He looked away, jaw tight. For the first time since she woke up in his penthouse, he seemed unable to hold her gaze. Aaliyah's mind pulled her backward, dragging her to memories she had spent 3 years trying to forget. She was 25 when they met. A charity event at the Grand Hotel downtown. She had been coordinating the silent auction, running between tables in a simple black dress, making sure everything went perfectly. Dom walked in late, surrounded by men in expensive suits. Everyone noticed him. Conversations paused. People straightened their postures. She didn't understand why then. He looked at her across the room and something shifted in the air. By the end of the night, he had asked for her number. By the end of the week, he had taken her to dinner at a restaurant with no name on the door. By the end of the month, she was completely lost in him. He kept her separate from his world. She thought it was romantic at first. Private dinners. Weekends at his penthouse. Quiet mornings where they pretended the rest of the world didn't exist. I want to marry you, he had said one night, holding her face in both hands. But I need you to trust me. I need you to stay hidden for a while. Just until things settle. She said yes without asking what needed to settle. Their wedding was small. Just them, a judge, and Tommy standing witness. Dom slipped a ring on her finger and kissed her like she was the only real thing in his life. For 6 months, they built something beautiful in the shadows. Then came the night everything shattered. Aaliyah came home to their penthouse and found Dom standing by the window. His shoulders were tense. Blood stained his shirt sleeve. What happened? She asked, rushing toward him. He turned. His eyes were empty in a way she had never seen before. You need to pack your things, he said. What? Dom, what are you talking about? You need to leave. Tonight. Don't come back. I don't understand. There's nothing to understand. His voice was cold. Hard. Nothing like the man who whispered her name in the dark. This was a mistake. You need to go. She stood there, frozen, waiting for him to take it back. Waiting for the real Dom to return. He never did. She packed a bag with shaking hands while he watched from across the room. She waited for an explanation. An apology. Anything. He gave her nothing. She left that night and cried for 3 months straight. Now, sitting in that same penthouse, Aaliyah felt the wound rip open again. Why did you throw me away? She whispered. Dom's eyes snapped back to hers. Pain flickered across his face. I didn't throw you away, he said, voice rough. I saved you. From what? From me. From my world. From people who would have destroyed you just to hurt me. That's not an answer, Dom. It's the only one I can give you right now. He stood, running a hand through his hair. But I need you to believe me when I say everything I did was to keep you alive. Aaliyah's throat tightened. You broke my heart to save my life? Yes. One word. Simple. Final. And somehow it hurt worse than the silence. Dom stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his office, phone pressed to his ear. The city spread below him like a kingdom he controlled with nothing more than his name. I want everything, he said quietly. Financial records. Employee complaints. Security footage. Every dirty secret Preston Montgomery has ever tried to hide. Tommy the Knife Rizzo sat across the desk, tablet in hand, already working. He had been Dom's right hand for 15 years. He knew what that tone in Dom's voice meant. Someone was about to be erased. Boss, we've already found some interesting things, Tommy said, scrolling through documents. Montgomery's been skimming money from the hotel for 2 years. Fake vendor invoices. Padded expense reports. He's stolen at least $200,000. Keep digging. There's more. 6 sexual harassment complaints filed against him in the last 3 years. The hotel buried all of them. Paid the women off and made them sign silence agreements. Dom's jaw tightened. His knuckles went white around the phone. And the labor violations? Dom asked. Enough to shut the place down twice over. Unpaid overtime. Illegal wage deductions. He's been running that hotel like his personal playground. Good. Dom ended his call and turned to face Tommy. I want all of it delivered to the Department of Labor, the IRS, and the FBI by noon. Make sure they can't ignore it. Tommy nodded. What about Montgomery himself? I'll handle him personally. Dom. I said I'll handle it. His voice was ice. That man put his hands on my wife. He humiliated her. He locked her outside to freeze in the rain. He doesn't get to walk away from that. Tommy had seen Dom angry before. He had seen him cold and calculating when enemies needed to be eliminated. But this was different. This was personal in a way that made even Tommy uncomfortable. She doesn't know, does she? Tommy asked carefully. About why you sent her away? No. Maybe you should tell her. Maybe. Dom's expression was unreadable. But first, I'm going to make sure no one ever hurts her again. By that afternoon, Preston Montgomery's world began to collapse. Federal agents arrived at the hotel at 2 o'clock. They walked past the front desk carrying boxes and wearing badges that made everyone freeze. Preston was in his office when they knocked. Preston Montgomery? The lead agent held up identification. We have a warrant for your financial records and several questions about your business practices. Preston's face went pale. I don't understand. There must be some mistake. No mistake, sir. We've received detailed documentation of fraud, embezzlement, and labor law violations. You're going to need to come with us. By 3 o'clock, Preston's bank accounts were frozen. By 4 o'clock, the hotel's board of directors had placed him on immediate suspension. By 5 o'clock, his name was trending online as former employees came forward with stories of abuse and harassment. Preston sat in an interrogation room, sweating through his expensive shirt, trying to understand how his life had fallen apart in 3 hours. He didn't know about the man watching from across the street through tinted windows. Dom stood beside his car, arms crossed, watching federal agents walk in and out of the hotel. He felt no satisfaction. No joy. Just cold certainty that justice was being served. His phone buzzed. A message from one of his contacts in the underworld. Word spreading. People are asking about the woman. Dom's stomach dropped. Marcus Kane had heard. The war was beginning. Aaliyah couldn't sleep. She lay in the guest bedroom staring at the ceiling, watching shadows move across the white paint. The penthouse was quiet. Too quiet. Every sound felt loud. Every breath felt heavy. She kept thinking about Dom's words from earlier. I saved you. What did that mean? Saved her from what? At 2 in the morning, she gave up trying to sleep. She wrapped herself in the robe Dom had left for her and walked into the living room. Dom was standing by the windows, hands in his pockets, staring out at the city. He wore sweatpants and a t-shirt. No shoes. His hair was messy. He looked more human than she had seen him in years. He turned when he heard her footsteps. Can't sleep, he asked quietly. No. Aaliyah moved closer, but kept her distance. You either. I don't sleep much anymore. They stood in silence for a moment. The city glowed below them. Cars moved like small lights on dark streets. Somewhere out there, people were living normal lives. Lives that didn't include mafia kings and broken marriages and secrets too heavy to carry. Talk to me, Dom, Aaliyah said softly. Really talk to me. No more half answers. No more protection. Just the truth. Dom closed his eyes. When he opened them again, they were filled with something she hadn't seen before. Fear. 3 years ago, Marcus Kane came to me, Dom said. His voice was low and rough. He's another boss. We've been enemies for years. His father and my father went to war before either of us took over. Aaliyah nodded, not speaking. Afraid if she interrupted, he would stop. Kane wanted to hurt me the way my father hurt his family. So he started watching everyone close to me, looking for weaknesses. Dom pulled his phone from his pocket and opened a folder. He handed it to Aaliyah. Her breath caught. Photos. Dozens of them. Pictures of her walking to work, sitting in a coffee shop, reading in the park, sleeping in Dom's bed, taken through the penthouse window with a long-distance camera. He sent these to me with a message, Dom continued. He said if I didn't back down from a territory dispute, he would take you. He described exactly what he would do, how long he would make it last, how he would make sure I watched. Aaliyah's hands shook. The phone nearly slipped from her fingers. He gave me 2 choices, Dom said. Walk away from you completely, make you believe I didn't care, push you so far away that you would never come back. Or keep you close and watch him destroy you. So you chose to break my heart, Aaliyah whispered. I chose to keep you alive. Dom's voice cracked. I chose to let you hate me if it meant you stayed breathing. Tears ran down Aaliyah's face. She couldn't stop them. You could have told me, she said. We could have fought together. No, we couldn't. Dom stepped closer. If I told you, you would have stayed. You would have refused to leave. And Kane would have killed you, Aaliyah. I know because he killed someone I loved before. She looked up at him. Who? My mother. The words came out barely above a whisper. When I was 17. Kane's father did it to punish mine. I watched her funeral and I swore I would never let someone I love die because of this life again. Aaliyah's chest ached. She wanted to be angry. She wanted to hold on to her hurt. But standing there, looking at Dom's broken expression, she understood. He hadn't thrown her away. He had tried to save her the only way he knew how. I'm sorry, Dom said. I'm sorry I didn't find another way. I'm sorry I let you believe you weren't enough. You were everything, Aaliyah. You still are. She closed the distance between them. Her hand reached up and touched his face. He leaned into it like a man starving for touch. I never stopped loving you, she whispered. I never stopped either. They stood there in the dark, holding 3 years of pain between them, finally beginning to heal. Aaliyah woke up with a decision burning in her chest. She found Dom in his office, on the phone speaking in low tones. He ended the call when he saw her in the doorway. I want to see him, she said. Dom knew immediately who she meant. Aaliyah. I need to do this, Dom. I need to look Preston in the eye and take my power back. The federal investigation is already destroying him. You don't have to. Yes, I do. She stepped into the office, her voice firm. You got your justice your way. Let me get mine. Dom studied her face for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. Tommy will drive you, he said. And I'm sending 2 guards. Dom. That's not negotiable. His voice was gentle but absolute. You face him on your terms. But you don't go unprotected. 2 hours later, Aaliyah walked into the hotel wearing a coat Dom had bought her that morning. Black cashmere. Expensive. The kind of thing she never could have afforded on Preston's wages. She looked different. Felt different. Her shoulders were back. Her head was high. The lobby was chaos. Federal agents moved through the building with boxes. Employees whispered in corners. Everyone looked nervous. Aaliyah walked past them all like she owned the place. Preston's office door was open. He sat behind his desk, surrounded by lawyers, his face gray and sweating. He looked smaller than she remembered. Less powerful. He looked up when she entered. For a moment, he didn't recognize her. Then his eyes went wide. Aaliyah? His voice cracked. What are you doing here? She didn't answer right away. She just stood there, letting him see her. Really see her. I came to give you this, she said calmly. She pulled an envelope from her coat and placed it on his desk. My resignation. Effective immediately. You can't just. I can. Her voice was steady. Strong. And I am. Preston's face turned red. He stood up, his lawyers trying to pull him back down. You think you're better than me now, he spat. You think because you found some rich man to take care of you, you can walk in here and… I think, Aaliyah interrupted, that you're a small, cruel man who mistook cruelty for power. The room went silent. I think you spent months trying to break me because it made you feel important, she continued. You humiliated me. You underpaid me. You locked me outside in the rain like I was nothing. Preston's hands shook. You don't know who you're talking to. Yes, I do. Aaliyah smiled. Not a kind smile. A knowing one. I'm talking to a man who's about to lose everything. His job. His reputation. His freedom. She leaned forward slightly. And I'm talking to a man who made one very big mistake, she said softly. You hurt the wrong woman. Preston's face went pale. What does that mean? It means my husband doesn't appreciate people who put their hands on me. The word husband hung in the air like a bomb. Preston stammered. You're not married. You never mentioned. I didn't mention a lot of things. Aaliyah straightened. But you're going to learn them all very soon. She turned to leave. Wait. Preston's voice was desperate now. Aaliyah, wait. We can work this out. I'll apologize. I'll give you your job back with a raise. She stopped at the door and looked back at him. I don't want anything from you, Preston, she said quietly. I just wanted you to know that I'm still standing. And you're not. She walked out with her head high. Tommy was waiting by the car, a slight smile on his scarred face. Boss is gonna be proud, he said, opening the door for her. Aaliyah slid into the back seat, her heart pounding. For the first time in 3 years, she felt like herself again. Strong. Unbreakable. Free. Dom was waiting when Aaliyah returned to the penthouse. He stood by the window, tension in his shoulders, like he had been pacing the entire time she was gone. He turned when she walked in. His eyes searched her face, looking for damage, for pain, for anything that needed fixing. I'm okay, she said softly. His shoulders relaxed. Tell me. She told him everything. Every word she said to Preston. Every moment she took back her power. Dom listened without interrupting, and when she finished, something like pride flickered in his eyes. You didn't need me there, he said. No, Aaliyah agreed. But it helped knowing you had my back. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Dom checked his watch. "Come with me," he said. "Where?" "Out. You've been trapped in this penthouse for 3 days. You need air." Aaliyah hesitated. "Is it safe? I have people watching every corner of this city. You'll be safe." 20 minutes later, they walked through the streets together. Dom had chosen a quiet neighborhood away from the busy downtown. Trees lined the sidewalks. Small cafes glowed warm in the evening light. Aaliyah breathed in the cool air. It felt good to move. Good to be outside without fear. They didn't talk much. They just walked side by side, their hands almost touching but not quite. Then the rain started. Soft at first. Just a few drops. Then steady. Warm spring rain that smelled like fresh earth and new beginnings. Aaliyah stopped walking. She tilted her face up to the sky and closed her eyes. Dom watched her. He couldn't help it. She looked beautiful standing there in the rain, smiling like she had forgotten how heavy the world could be. "It's different this time," she said quietly, eyes still closed. "What is?" "The rain." She opened her eyes and looked at him. "Last time, it was cold and cruel. This time it feels like it's washing everything clean." Dom's chest tightened. He took a step closer. "Aaliyah," he said, his voice rough. She turned to face him fully. Rain ran down her face. Her hair was getting wet. She didn't seem to care. "I need to tell you something," Dom continued. "Something I should have said 3 years ago before I pushed you away." "What?" "I never stopped loving you." The words came out raw and honest. "Not for a single day. Not for a single hour. Letting you go was the hardest thing I've ever done, and I've done terrible things, Aaliyah. But losing you almost destroyed me." Tears mixed with rain on her face. "Dom, I know I don't deserve another chance," he said quickly. "I know I hurt you in ways I can never fix. But if you'll let me, I want to spend the rest of my life making it right." Aaliyah's breath caught. She had imagined this moment 1,000 times over 3 years. Imagined what she would say if he ever came back. If he ever apologized. Now, standing in the rain with her heart breaking open, she realized she didn't need perfect words. She just needed the truth. "I never stopped loving you either," she whispered. Dom's control finally broke. He stepped forward and cupped her face in both hands. His thumbs brushed away tears she didn't know she was crying. "Can I kiss you?" he asked softly. She didn't answer with words. She just closed the distance between them and pressed her lips to his. The kiss was desperate and gentle at the same time. 3 years of longing poured into one moment. Dom pulled her closer, one hand in her wet hair, the other wrapped around her waist like he was afraid she might disappear. Aaliyah held onto him just as tightly. The rain fell harder around them, but neither pulled away. This time, when the rain came, it didn't hurt. It healed. Aaliyah sat in a small cafe 2 blocks from Dom's penthouse, waiting for Brianna Davis. Her former coworker had texted that morning, desperate to meet. She had questions about Preston's arrest and rumors spreading through the hotel. Dom hadn't wanted her to go. But Aaliyah insisted she needed some piece of her old life back. Some normalcy. He agreed only after assigning 2 guards to watch from a distance. Brianna arrived 10 minutes late, her eyes wide with shock when she saw Aaliyah. "Girl, what happened to you?" Brianna slid into the booth. "You look completely different." Aaliyah smiled. "I got out. That's what happened." They talked for 20 minutes. Brianna explained how the hotel was falling apart. How Preston had been arrested that morning. How everyone was being questioned by federal agents. "People are saying you're the one who reported him," Brianna said carefully. "I didn't have to," Aaliyah replied. The truth reported itself. Brianna leaned forward. "There's something else. People are asking questions about you. About who you know. Someone saw you getting into an expensive car with armed men." Aaliyah's stomach tightened. "What kind of questions?" "The scary kind." Before Aaliyah could respond, the cafe window exploded. Glass shattered everywhere. People screamed. Aaliyah hit the floor on instinct, her ears ringing from the sound. Gunfire. Rapid. Close. Deadly. Dom's guards rushed in, weapons drawn. One grabbed Aaliyah and pulled her toward the back exit. The other returned fire at shapes moving outside. We need to move now, the guard yelled. Aaliyah's legs wouldn't work. Fear locked her muscles. She couldn't breathe. Then she saw Brianna on the floor, blood spreading across her shoulder. No. Aaliyah tried to go back, but the guard pulled her harder. Ma'am, we have to go. More gunfire erupted. The second guard went down, a bullet catching him in the chest. He fell hard. Tommy appeared from nowhere, moving like violence itself. He fired 3 shots in rapid succession. 2 men outside dropped. Get her out, Tommy shouted. The remaining guard dragged Aaliyah through the kitchen and out the back door. A black SUV was already waiting, engine running. They shoved her inside just as more shots cracked through the air. The SUV took off fast, tires screaming. Aaliyah pressed against the seat, shaking uncontrollably. Her hands were covered in broken glass. Her ears rang. She couldn't stop seeing Brianna's blood spreading across the floor. Where's Dom? She managed to ask. We're taking you to him now, the guard said, his voice tight. 5 minutes later, the SUV pulled into an underground garage. Dom was already there, pacing like a caged animal. The moment he saw her, he yanked the door open and pulled her into his arms. Are you hurt? His hands moved over her, checking for injuries. Aaliyah, look at me. Are you hurt? I'm okay, she whispered. But she wasn't. She was shaking so hard her teeth chattered. Dom held her tighter. She felt his heart pounding against her cheek. Kane, he said quietly. The name was a death sentence. Tommy appeared, blood on his jacket but walking steady. 2 of Kane's men dead, Tommy reported. 1 of ours wounded but alive. The woman with her took a shoulder hit. She'll survive. Dom's jaw clenched. Kane just declared war. What do we do? Tommy asked. Dom looked down at Aaliyah, still trembling in his arms. His eyes went cold in a way that would have terrified her once. Now she understood what that coldness meant. Protection. Vengeance. Love twisted into something deadly. We end this, Dom said. Once and for all. Dom kept Aaliyah in a safe house for 2 days while he prepared for war. She hated being locked away, but she understood. Marcus Kane had made his move. Now Dom had to finish it. On the 3rd morning, Dom came to her with blood on his knuckles and exhaustion in his eyes. It's done, he said quietly. Aaliyah stood from the couch where she had been reading. What's done? Kane. I'm meeting him tonight. One final conversation. Her blood went cold. Dom, no. He'll kill you. He'll try. Dom's voice was calm. Too calm. But I'm not going there to die, Aaliyah. I'm going there to end this so you can live without looking over your shoulder. Then I'm coming with you. Absolutely not. You don't get to decide that. She crossed her arms. If this is about me, I deserve to be there. They argued for 20 minutes. Dom refused. Aaliyah refused to back down. Finally, he made her promise to stay in the car with Tommy, protected by armed guards. She agreed. But she didn't like it. That night, they drove to an abandoned warehouse on the edge of the city. The kind of place where deals were made and bodies disappeared. Marcus Kane was already there, standing in the center of the empty space with 6 men surrounding him. He was older than Dom, maybe 50, with gray hair and cruel eyes. Dom stepped out of the car alone. Tommy stayed with Aaliyah, one hand on his weapon. Castellano, Kane called out. I was wondering when you'd finally show up. We're ending this tonight, Dom said. His voice echoed in the empty space. Kane laughed. Are we? Because from where I'm standing, you're outnumbered and outgunned. Numbers don't matter when you're already dead. Kane's smile faded. Big words for a man who's about to lose everything. I've already lost everything once, Dom said. When I sent my wife away to protect her from you. I'm not making that mistake again. Your wife. Kane's eyes gleamed. The pretty black woman you've been hiding? I have to admit, Castellano, she's impressive. The way she handled that cafe attack. Most people would have broken. Dom's hands curled into fists. Here's my offer, Kane continued. Walk away from her. Publicly. Divorce her, disappear her, I don't care. Do that, and I'll let you keep your empire. No. Then I'll kill her slowly. I'll make you watch. Just like my father made your father watch when. Dom moved. Fast. Too fast for Kane's men to react. He crossed the distance in 3 steps and grabbed Kane by the throat, lifting him off the ground. "You don't get to threaten her," Dom said, his voice deadly quiet. "You don't get to say her name. You don't get to breathe the same air as her." Kane's men raised their weapons. Dom's men, hidden in the shadows, raised theirs. "Shoot me and you all die," Dom said calmly. "Is that what you want, Kane? To end your entire organization over one woman?" Kane clawed at Dom's hand, gasping for air. "I'm done with this life," Dom continued. "I'm restructuring everything. Going legitimate. My father's empire dies with me. But before I walk away, I'm ending you. Not because you threatened my business. Because you threatened her." Dom threw Kane to the ground. The fight was brutal and quick. Kane pulled a knife. Dom disarmed him in seconds. Fists flew. Blood spilled. Dom fought like a man with nothing left to lose and everything to protect. When it ended, Kane lay on the ground, broken and defeated. Dom stood over him, breathing hard, his suit torn and bloody. "Your empire is finished," Dom said. "Your operations, your connections, your protection. I've already dismantled all of it. The only reason you're still breathing is because I'm not my father." He turned and walked away, leaving Kane bleeding on the concrete. Tommy drove them home in silence. Dom sat in the back beside Aaliyah, his hand wrapped in hers. "It's over," he said quietly. "Kane's finished. His organization is scattered. You're safe now." Aaliyah looked at his bruised face, his split knuckles, the exhaustion in his eyes. "What about you?" she asked. "Are you safe?" Dom turned to her. For the first time since she met him, he looked uncertain. "I meant what I said in there," he told her. "I'm leaving this life. I'm restructuring the business, making everything legitimate. It'll take time, but I'm doing it." "Why?" "Because I can't keep you safe in a world built on violence." His voice was raw. "And keeping you safe matters more than keeping power." Aaliyah's eyes filled with tears. "I'm choosing you," Dom whispered. "I'm choosing us." 6 months later, Aaliyah stood on the balcony of their new house, watching the sun rise over the hills outside the city. The air was clean here. Quiet. No sirens. No constant noise. Just birds and wind and peace. She wore Dom's shirt and her wedding ring. The ring she had taken off 3 years ago and locked in a drawer. The ring Dom had slipped back onto her finger 2 months ago, asking her properly this time if she would stay. She said yes without hesitation. The sliding door opened behind her. Dom stepped out carrying 2 cups of coffee. He had changed too over these months. Less tension in his shoulders. More lightness in his eyes. He smiled easier now. "You're up early," he said, handing her a cup. "Couldn't sleep. Too excited about today." Today was the grand opening of their community center downtown. A place for job training, education programs, and resources for people trying to rebuild their lives. Aaliyah had designed the whole thing. Dom had funded it. Together, they were building something that actually helped people instead of hurting them. "Tommy called," Dom said, leaning against the railing beside her. "The last of the old operations are officially closed. Everything's clean now. Legal. Legitimate." Aaliyah looked at him. "How does it feel?" "Strange." He smiled slightly. "But good. Really good." It hadn't been easy. Walking away from the empire his father built meant making enemies of people who wanted things to stay the same. But Dom had been careful. Strategic. He sold off the criminal operations to rivals who destroyed each other fighting over the pieces. He kept the legitimate businesses and transformed them into something clean. The Castellano name still carried weight. But now it meant real estate and investment firms instead of violence and fear. "Preston got 15 years, Dom said casually. "Tommy heard this morning." Aaliyah nodded. She had testified at his trial 2 months ago. Watching him sentenced had brought closure she didn't know she needed. "And Kane? Still in prison. He'll die there." Dom's voice was neutral. He didn't take pleasure in it. It was just fact. They stood in comfortable silence, drinking their coffee as the sun climbed higher. "No more secrets," Aaliyah said softly. Dom turned to her. "No more secrets," he agreed. "No more running. No more running." She set down her coffee and moved into his arms. He held her close, his chin resting on top of her head. I'm proud of us, she whispered. We survived everything trying to destroy us. We did more than survive, Dom said. We rebuilt. We became better. Rain started to fall. Soft and warm, just like that night 6 months ago when they kissed in the street. Aaliyah tilted her face up to it, smiling. Dom watched her with love so clear it didn't need words. Remember when I hated the rain? She asked. I remember. I don't anymore. She looked at him. Now it just reminds me that hard things can wash away. That we can start over. Dom kissed her forehead. Then her cheek. Then her lips. The rain fell around them, but they didn't run from it. They stood together, side by side, letting it wash over them. Cleaning away the past. Making space for the future. A future built not on fear or power or violence, but on love, truth, partnership. They had been broken. They had been lost. They had been separated by secrets and danger and choices that almost destroyed them both. But they found their way back. And this time, they were ready. Together. Always.